I think a problem with the sound.
Hey, it's our first live stream.
Yes, yes.
So welcome to Talking Watch's first live stream. And before we get going, I'd like to introduce Miguel Morales of Ophion from Spain. Thank you for
Hello.
being here today.
No, thank you very much for giving the opportunity. Thank you.
And also Nelson Lee. And Nelson is from Julux over in Singapore.
That's right. Pleasure. Happy to be here.
Thank you for being here. All right, so we are going to get started because, as you know, I've got some notes, and I am going to, first of all, Arya, thank you for being here today and joining us, Arya. I think we have a few more people who will be joining us momentarily from the Horology Talk group. So, in fact, let me just make sure everybody's okay over there. All right. So, let me go ahead and bring up your website. And the first thing that we said we were going to talk about this afternoon was really your background and the inspiration, Miguel, that started Ophion back in 2014.
Okay, that's great. So we create the brand because, like, all my life I have this sensation of looking at very high-end watchmaking, like very high-end pieces from the master of horology. It was always like having this feeling that you can never own these pieces. You can only admire it and only see it in pictures and sometimes in some shows or some shops. But it was so far reach, and that it was like I always compare it to when you go to a museum and you see a beautiful painting that you see, oh my god, I love this piece of art so much, but I can never own it. I can only see it here and never again. So yeah, we wanted to bring the charm and characteristic of the high end watchmaking to a wider audience. So almost that anyone that is interested in one of our watches that have this kind of key elements from the high-end watchmaking, they can afford it. So I was studying architecture before we create the brand, and I meet my partner there, is Roberto. So one night we were working, and he was always telling me, "Oh, you have to create a watch brand. You have to create a watch one because you know so much about watches." And say, "Oh yes, is this a fun idea?" So we put that idea aside, and the years pass, and we finish our studies. In Spain, the architectural crisis was a difficult situation, so we say, okay, we are young and we have this opportunity to create the brand, and we did it. We joined with some of our friends and we create the brand. So the first years of the brand, the first year we wanted to find the right suppliers to bring our vision. So we travel around the world, and all of that what we found is like, would you meet one person and this person makes the complete watch for you. So you cannot control every part and every detail of the watch, and you cannot know what is possible or what are the real limits. Because, for example, if you do a complicated design that they don't want to do, they just say, "Oh no, this is not possible to make." But if you know it's possible to make because you have the solution of the problem, and you say, "No, but yeah, it's possible, look, this is the drawing, this is the solution," and they say, "No, this is too complex." So that's the problem when you only have one person or one company that produce the complete watch for you. So we keep looking and decide to do each part of the watch with a different supplier, so we can control the quality and get the result that we wanted. That, of course, at first it was very difficult because we were a very small brand. So it was a challenge to say, okay, we will do the case with one company, the dial with another company, and then they will ship the pieces to the parts to us, and we have to assemble. And imagine if they don't match or whatever. I don't know. It was our first watch, so it was very complicated to do. But yeah, finally, after looking a lot of suppliers, I think we did it, and we create our first watch that it was like or test to really show what we can bring at a very affordable price. It was the OPH 960. So for this watch, because the brand wants take inspiration for different eras of time, like this watch was inspired by the 1960s, and we say, okay, what is the elements of that era that we want to bring and recreate in our watch. So we have this domed dial that it was very difficult at first also to get produced because they always wanted to do a flat dial. And in this case, for example, the indexes are also curved. So you have two curvature. You have the curvature of the dial, and you have the curvature of the indexes or the applies. But in this watch, we show what we want to always do is that we design the movement of the watch and the design of the watch always with the same aesthetic language, and with the same idea, because usually you found that a person has created a movement and another designer have created the watch. So they took an existing movement and they just put it in their watch, and usually they don't have any connection. The design of the watch doesn't have any connection with the design of the movement. So in this case, in the movement, if you go down, you can see the movement. You go down, yeah, this movement. So this movement, because also it was a very challenge to achieve in our first model with the limited resources that we had, because this movement was also inspired by the decoration of the movement of the 1960s. So everything is created with one inspiration and is translated and in one piece. So for us at this moment to create a custom decoration, for us it was very challenging, and we speak with Technotime, and they really help us, and we did it with us, so we could bring our custom decoration to this watch. And yeah, this was the first um, proof of the brand. We make the watch. We make it as we wanted. We have, for example, some problems at first because the dials, the indexes weren't the reflection on the indexes were not the same reflection of the hands. So we had to redo all the dials to have the perfect match reflections and finishing on the hands and on the indexes. So yeah, it was the first problem that we encountered, because yeah, but we say, okay, we wanted to have this was as again we could do this because we did each part with a different supplier. So we say, okay, these dials are not at the quality that we want, so we will repeat it, and we only launch it when we are happy with the watch. So it was a really we had a really strong welcome. It was very good because we thought, okay, at the time this watch cost around 1,300 euros, and we say, oh, we are no nobody know us, maybe we will not sell anything. So okay, we will try, and yeah, the people really see the effort and the quality that we put in the watch, and it was we sold all. So we were very happy, and then we moved to our second model, that is the OPH 786.
And before we do that, let
Yeah.
me introduce everyone. If they're not familiar, one of the areas that I started reading more about Ophion and their, let's just call it their history, and their references. And I want to get back to your inspiration as well before we move on to the next watch. But
Yeah, perfect.
if you would go when you have an opportunity over to Monochrome and just look up Ophion watches, comma Monochrome, you're going to see the history of Ophion traced in very good articles over here. And from the beginning, they really got rave reviews from Monochrome, which I think is at the very top of journalism for the horology industry. So if you haven't had an opportunity to read these yet, go through this, and you will really get that sense of Monochrome initially saw the Ophion brand and experienced it and was impressed, right? But it wasn't. I think the impression that you'll get is it wasn't a one-hit wonder. So as we then get into talking about the 786, we'll bring it back to the Ophion website. Now, what I'm hearing and learning about you, Miguel, and Ophion as a brand is that you you will take a certain amount. You'll take inspiration from something in history, and
Yeah,
then you translate that into a unique piece that is its own reference that may have nothing to do with the former or reference to come. Is that correct?
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Because we didn't want to have like a very strong DNA because okay maybe I know that a lot of brands search for having like a just a very identifiable, like you look one of their watches and you know okay this brand, this watch is from this brand.
Mhm.
But we, because we want to always create the best and improve the design and advance in the design and create something new, we didn't say at first okay we will only limit to this design. We don't have like strong creative limits, so we open it and they say okay we will do different designs and different watches, and each time something new will come. So I think yeah that's the idea that you say. Yeah.
Yeah. And Joseph, thanks for being here today. Joseph is saying such a beautiful and clean design. That's what I found actually throughout your all your references is that there's a certain simplicity and elegance about each piece that you design.
Yeah, for example, when I always try to explain the design, it's like I want to create complexity in simplicity. Like you at first see the watch and you say, "Oh, this watch is very simple. Doesn't have like a lot of thought." But my idea is that you have first you have this impression, but every time you look at the watch, you find something new, some new details that you have never seen, and you have elements in the watch that change with the environment's lights. Like for example, if you are doing something different, you find new shades and new shapes and new reflection on the watch that will bring you more interesting details every time you look at the watch and you find something new and you enjoy, and like it's a continuous experience in when you learn more each day you learn something new about the watch. That's always like the idea that I try to bring to the designs. And for example, in the 786, we wanted like the same that we take inspiration from the 1960s for the previous model. In this model, we took inspiration from the old pocket watches, and my goal was to bring a very high-end guillotine to an affordable price. Because before I created the brand, I had always again this feeling that I really love guillos, but in entry level or middle range watches, the guillos was always stamped and it was not really well done. And I say, okay, I will focus a model to bring the best guillos that we can produce, and we can offer a real guillos. It's not real guillos in the traditional sense, but the result that you get is real, because real guillos is done by a Rosegin. It's a machine operated by hand. It's a machine that makes small cuts in the dial. So every time you make a cut, you leave a shiny groove because you have a small polish that this cutting tool leave on the dial. So this cut will reflect the light in a center way. So the approach that we took is that we said, okay, we want to have this effect, but we are not going to do a stamped, because when you do a stamped guillos, you only deform the surface, so you don't get this shiny cut. So we said, okay, we will do the guillos with a CNC machine. It's the same principle that, but instead of a person operating the machine, it's just a computer. So you get this shiny cut of each time that reflects the light in this way, but done with a machine instead of a person, and we can bring the cost down because it's still expensive, but it's not expensive as with a machine, a real Rosy. So yeah, in this case, for example, as referring to what I was explaining before of finding new details. In this case, we did the Roman numerals. We cut it, so we have a base of the guillos, and we cut the Roman numerals. So when you look at the Roman numerals, you can see the guillos behind the Roman numerals. So at first you see, okay, just they are just like regular Roman numerals. But when you look it close, you see this detail and you find, oh, this is interesting because you will have the Roman numeral that is cutted, and you have the guillos in the under layer of the Roman numeral. So the light will bring a different reflection in the center of the dial with the guillos that in the that in the guillos under the Roman numeral. So it
Similar
is
to a sandwich dial, right?
sorry.
Similar to what's called a sandwich dial.
Yeah, exactly. But usually with the sandwich dial, you have like a luminova or something like that.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know if there is more example where you have the guillos like in the sandwich dial. I'm not sure. Maybe there are, but that's what I tried to do here. And also, you can in this time because it was a second model, we could redesign the movement for our design. So we create a custom made design of the movement for the watch. And in here you can see. Well, it's okay. So in this time, we took the previous movement, I completely changed all the bridges and all the shapes and all the decorations to have a completely different look of the movement that in the previous watch. Because this watch is inspired by the pocket watches, we wanted to bring this symmetry and this style of pocket watches movement to the watch because because of to complete the aesthetical language. So in this case, it was very difficult to get this symmetry because for that you had to remove one of the screws, and that's always difficult when dealing with a movement because you need all the supports possible. But that way we could create this axis of symmetry that you have in the movement, and we also had this decoration on the bridges that emulates the mercury evaporation that the all pocket watchmakers use in the finishing. So you have like this texture finishing that recreates this finishing in the all pocket watches. So yeah, and we also have like this different balance for this different bridge for the balance wheel that constructs that is in contrast with the rest of the movement. So yeah, this time this movement was very difficult to get because we had to redesign and convince our supplier to do it. So finally they say, okay, yes, we will do it, but we encounter a really big problem because when we were producing this model, the company that did this movement to us went bankruptcy, so they closed. So they had all our movement already produced in the company, but we couldn't get them. So we had to wait until this company was bought by the Sopro of the Festina Group. So they opened again the company, and finally we could get this movement and yeah, and deliver the watches.
So before we continue to move on, I wanted to point out a couple of things because this is what really struck me as I was getting to know your brand, and that is Luftwaffe 101 says here. I think Ophion come across as a good, honest brand. It's refreshing, and that because you're so honest in your supply chain and in the techniques that you use to give that. I don't even want to call it impression, but the experience of high horology, but you do it in a smart way, right? You do it in a very smart way. I
Thank you.
think it's very refreshing. It's great to see a brand that is honest with those who at first are attracted to it, but then can go a little deeper and go, yeah, I want to support these people because of their honesty. So I think that immediately everyone sees that aspect of the Ophion brand just by digging a little bit. And again, I will go back to the articles over on Monochrome that spoke exactly to those same attributes of your brand. So we, as lovers of horology, as lovers of independent brands, we thank you for that
Thank you.
transparency and the work that you've done to create that.
That this come again with my initial idea for the brand, because when I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 years old, I was learning more and more about watches thanks to the internet, thanks to the forums. And I was very, very frustrated because it was so difficult to learn why something was good or why something was not good at that time. It was so difficult to understand why this watch cost $1,000 and why this watch cost 3,000 or 300 or whatever. So it was very frustrating because nobody knew. It's like, what, how do you compare why this watch is better than the other one, or what is the reasoning behind the quality? Why is that? And that's because I think the industry wanted to keep very secretive. And for example, we encountered this at first because we were outsiders, and everybody say like, what are you doing? This is like very strange. What are you trying to accomplish? So for example, when I learned, because when I was, yeah, again 13 or 12 years old, I was reading about watches, and I found the cost certificate, like the chronometric, like the chronometer certification. And I thought, oh, maybe this is something different for the movement. They do something different. Why is so important the cost certificate or the chronometer certificate? And this is in reality is the same movement. And then you learn, oh, it's an ETA movement, and ETA movement has four different levels of quality. And the last one is the chronometry or the adjustment or whatever. So it was like, why nobody's explaining this? You why you have the same movement in the different watches, and nobody knows what is inside? And I say, okay, in my brand, we wanted to be as open as possible. We want always to show what we do, because like we want to really show why it's so special in behind mechanical watches, and why it's so appealing for so many people. But like, I don't understand why the industry closing and not explaining this, is what is hurting them. Because if you explain and you show why it makes so special a watch, they get people involved, and you can see why people is so passionate about watches. And as when you understand more and more and more, is more and more you understand more the magic of the mechanical watches, and you finally understand why is the reasoning behind this watch is really high quality, and this other watch is not high quality. Why this is move so many per people, and with why this other is just a fashion watch, or just a simple design. So yeah, like I was really shocked when I see in the brand MBNF that he showed all the suppliers that he used. He
Yeah.
shows all the collaboration. I say, if this guy like is in the top of the game and he does that, I want to do the same. I want to always show what we do, and just like explain everything, because if I think we are doing it right, it's worth it to show it. And that's why the idea why I always try to be as open as possible.
Yes, yes. Um, and so let's talk a little bit about. Let me go up to. So we've talked about the 786. Now um, we move into from 2017 when the initial OPH 786 was launched. We move into the 786 Velos,
Hmm. Okay,
and
so for the builders, we wanted to offer like the next iteration on the 786, and we wanted to to keep offering the CNC machine guillos, and we offer a new variation of dial, the radial dial for the ones that are not looking for a CNC machine guillos. And we want to very emphasize a very strong art deco of the design. So we went with a teardrop lag case, and for that it was very difficult. It was very important to find the right supplier that made the teardrop lag case, because it's very difficult to make this case, because you produce the middle part of the case and then you produce each part separated, and then each lag is welded to the center of the case. So you need a very specific technique for an invisible weld. So we partnered with the company, the case company of Butulaini Katin. They were very happy to help us to produce our case. And yeah, when we did a prototype with them, and the result was so amazing that we said, okay, let's go with them. And yeah, they were very helpful. And we introduced our Velos hand, that is the that in Velos in Greek means arrow. So we did a very big arrow to differentiate the style and the art deco even more. And so in this dial, you still have the CNC machine guillos base, and you have all the elements applied to the dial. That's why it's very cost to make to produce this dial. And you have the indexes very high and raised, so you have a very three-dimensional effect. Because in the dials, because my background in design is architecture, I always want to have a very strong three-dimensional effect. That is what makes the dial rich, and you have like very when the details that I was talking before about finding unique details every time you look at the dial. You get this with a very three-dimensional effect. So I designed my dials in the cross section like a building. So in the cross section, you can see all the heights of the different elements, and it's very important that you have very clear, because if not, all the hands will touch with the elements of the dial. So maybe they stop if you don't assemble the watch correctly. And in this model, because you have a very thin case, I wanted to have a very thin case so the complete watch was comfortable to wear. All the distance are very 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 close, and you have to be very precise when manufacturing the dial and when assemble the watches, because if you move the hands a little bit high or low, they can touch the crystal or touch one of the indexes. It's not hurtful to the watch, but the watch will go run slower. So that's why it's very important to fix this height correctly. So you have like in this design, you have a polished other ring, like and a polished inner chamfering in the rings. So you have like a, a flat part, then it rise. You have another floor, and it rise down again. So you have this element of the three-dimensional effect with the elements of the dial.
So, what was your inspiration behind this design? Because you talked us through the inspiration of the first two designs, but what inspired you here?
This is the Art Deco style. So for the Art Deco style, we're really strong with these swag numbers and the teardrop lag case and the Velos hand. We transform the pocket watch inspiration from the previous 786 and give it a Art Deco character. So we it's not a completely different model. It's like iteration of the 786, because it still have elements from the old pocket watches, but reinterpreted within a strong Art Deco style.
Yeah. Now, is this the first time that you worked with Kari Voutilainen's company?
Oh yes, because in the first we each part, like in the previous watches, we produced the case and the dials in Germany and the movements and the hands in Switzerland. For the 786 Velos, we produce everything in Switzerland except from the dial, that we still use the same suppliers from Germany. So it was the first time in this model that we work with the Caributuraine company and Katin company, the case manufacturer.
Yeah, yeah. This was the watch that caught my attention. This is kind of goes back to those discussions I had with Joe Chang when I was looking for small independents that coming from 2020 and into 2021. I was looking to support and the introduction from Joe to me and then to others over at the Horology Talk group and things of that nature. It kind of came to fruition. So. Yeah, this is a beautiful design. Now, one of the things I notice about your designs also is that they are a more contemporary but constrained dimension, right?
Mhm.
All the case sizes, if I recall correctly, are under 40 millimeters, right?
No, in the first watch in the 960 it was 42. So
So it was a larger case size. Okay. What then took you to a smaller case size if you started?
because because everybody was telling us no, it has to be smaller, it has to be smaller, it has to be smaller. So
Yeah.
we said, okay, and for a classical watch, it works better in a smaller case. But I think the sweet because in the 786 and the 786 Velos, which you have 30, 39, 38 at the bezel, and you have 39 at the side. So you have like that middle ground when you say, okay, if you say I want a 38 watch, you can say, okay, this is 38. If you say it's a 40 minute, I want a 40 case, you can say, okay, it's close to that. So it plays in between a little bit the two sizes to accommodate for a more wider range.
And now, regarding the movement in the Velos, this is also pocket watch inspired, correct?
Oh yes, yes, because it's the same. It's the same. It's like the same inspiration, like the 786. The movement in this case is the same as in the same because both has that pocket watch and Guillot's inspiration.
Are you only doing hand wound? Is that really where you're inspired? Is to stay on the hand wound side of things?
No, we in the future we can move also to automatic, but yeah, for me, like because this is a 5 days power reserve, so you have like that you for me the beauty about hand wound is that you give a little bit to the watch and the watch gives to you every day like you want it a little bit and the watch give it back to you, but I understand that some people don't like the hand wound, so yeah, I think the future we will also expand to automatic movements.
Well, I'm a fan. The fact that you have a 5 day power reserve and a hand wound movement, and that you're able to constrain that to such a affordable yet just beautiful design. I mean, I think that you brought something really special to us as collectors.
No, thank you very much, like you like it.
Okay, so now we move from 2019 into 2020, and Nelson, this is where you come in because now we have, and let me scroll to the top here. Now we have a limited Singapore edition to discuss.
Yeah. So okay, I'm up. So very happy also to be I think the first retailer for Ophion, and I think it encapsulates what the audience have said. I found them to be an extremely honest brand when I chanced upon them in the early 2020. So when I met Miguel and I saw his work with the 786, it instantly took me by surprise that a brand could produce watches of such craft and design at these price points. And that was instantly the start of the conversation, right, with Miguel.
Yeah.
Singapore, obviously, we bought a few pieces. I bought a piece for myself and a few for my friends. And we started from there, right? Jewel Lux has been, I think, the only watch fair in Singapore, and the fair that has been around since 2017. And our objective has always been on independent, right? And so we started a conversation with Miguel, and he came on board wholeheartedly. Right? Singapore being a very strong market for him, and Asia as well, to produce something that is iconic, something that would commemorate this retail collaboration. And we launched it in late 2020. right?
Mhm.
In
Yeah.
November, with two variants. Right here, you will see the radiant red, uh, which is a which is a national color for Singapore. Um, as with other watches that have commemorated or launch editions, has always been iconic red. So this was a no-brainer for us to have a piece in the dial that Ophion have in a beautiful red, right? And as we go forward, you will realize that we have as well a variant in salmon, brioche. So we love his salmon brioche. It's such great CNC work. Again, at such an incredible price point. We actually produce the salmon ring, right? And
Mhm.
the salmon ring would be a CNC applied and with a very, very special touch on the numeral 12. So if you were to go back a little bit, you would find a salmon ring.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Let me
that's the
grab
one.
one that's a little further away first so they can see the entire. Okay, here we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, that's the one. And so we decided to commemorate and really painted the number 12 because it was number 12 and in which is of great significance to our country if you look into the history of Singapore. And so it has a real symbolic meaning to painting the number 12. And yeah, again, it has been such a hit in Singapore. Being a very important watch capital, we appreciate his work a lot. Um, I have here one of his early work. It's been This was my first piece, and
We
yeah,
say we
this
need to see that live piece up close. Show
yeah
that.
yeah yeah. So right,
Yeah.
so you look at the shine. It's hand polished stainless steel,
Yeah.
and until today, Miguel assembles the watches himself. So I find that big great dedication, just pure passion coming out from this brand. So this is mine, and you would see the rate soon. We would definitely send something to America. Um, so it's been great, right? If some a brand has I have never found a brand like that. In Jewel Labs we represent also Lexi, we have Yanni Horta, um, we have many brands, but I found this brand to be of great significance, and I think that's going to be a long way to go for this brand, right? And if
I
you
agree.
if you were to go to the case back, actually we have a little Singapore limited edition painted in red, just for this
Go back to
celebration.
the website here, so we can see the case back.
No, in the
Um,
web. No, I think it's not in the
I
website.
think in the Dropbox you should be
Yeah.
able to find something.
Okay, let
Also,
me get
can
back
you
to
could,
the
you could
Dropbox.
also launch it, we share with your audience on Instagram.
Sure.
Um,
Well, I do. You
this
know what? I do have your. I did have your Instagram up.
yeah, it's definitely in the Dropbox.
It is. Okay. Well,
Just
I'll
something,
find it then.
yeah, explore. So we'll launch it, and then it's been just I think 2 months, and it's very popular so far. Really popular so far. Yeah, it's fine. We don't have to see it now. We
No,
can
it's
show
okay.
it on. We can show it later on Instagram.
Yeah.
The secret.
Let me just go over to your Instagram.
No, I think it's. I'm not sure. Maybe it's in the you will looks Instagram. It's not
Yeah,
in this one.
yeah. I think right there. You catch a glimpse of it. You catch a glimpse of the engraving work.
In the video you see. I think you see it, but in
Yeah,
the Singapore edition you have the engraved in red,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
so not like this one.
that's right. And we took these photos here and in Singapore, right, for him, and just to show the work behind the movement, the twin barrel, um, the customized bridges. I mean, like I say, you find nothing like that, and it's in this price point. We have while the Singapore edition goes for a little higher, um, it, it's the right way the brand is moving. think Miguel will share later some new developments of the brand. But we're really excited, right? And so happy to be able to share this with Europe and America right here.
And now the Singapore editions are, each of these are being produced in limited quantities of only 55 pieces.
Yeah.
That's right. As it was Singapore 55th last year, so it was SG 55, and thus we decided to launch that number.
So when these are gone, they're gone.
Indeed, never to be reproduced.
Yeah, yeah. Beautiful. I see we have a lot of fans. Yeah, I noticed this too. As you moved into the Singapore edition, all of the straps with those pieces are in blue to complement the red.
In Singapore, though, yes, while we market as such, we do accommodate for the flexibility of choosing your color. So there's always a recommended color, but our customers have the option
To change.
to choose with the variety of colors that the brand have, right? In brown, in black.
Right.
So we do have that option available for clients.
So let's make sure that people know how to order if they would like to order. All ordering is done on your website?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's right. It's easy. It's a breeze.
Yep.
Just go to Ophion and make an order.
I went through this step. So everybody, if you're not familiar, I ordered the radial red piece here 2 months ago, something like that. So simply go to the Ophion website, click on the watch that you're looking to purchase, and add to cart. It's easy as that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I can tell you, very easy to work with Miguel from my own experience.
Yeah. And I
think you're a little too easy to work with, Miguel. You make things. You were way too kind in the initial emails as we were exchanging with one another.
Thank you.
Okay. Now,
what I would do, Mark, is for the audience here and anyone who likes to make an order, we would extend a free upgrade as well for the leather stripe. So it's usually in cowhide, but I will extend the alligator stripe, which is 80 euros for your audience. And of course, the Singapore edition already comes with complimentary shipping. So there's just something special for you guys.
Okay, so anyone on the live stream today who orders will receive this upgraded strap, which would normally be an additional 80 euros, and shipping is included.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful, thank you. So let's learn a little bit about Dulux in Singapore for a second. Would you kind of take us to 2017 when you founded Dulux and talk a little bit about Dulux?
So, thank you. So Dulux is the only running watch fair now in Singapore since 2017, supported by the Singapore Tourism Board, a key partner of ours, which shares our dedication and commitment in bringing high-end watchmaking and horology to Singapore. So we have embarked on that journey with them since 2017. We started really small as a fair. We had 4 watch brands primarily with us: Aviani Hotel, Backseat. We had Constantine Shikin, which we now represent in Asia, as well as Ludwig, right? Ludwig Buddha. So that was the first year of which we started. And in 2018, we grew from a fair with 4 watchmakers to 16. So we work a lot with ASCI, and we have been a proud sponsor of ASCI from the start. And in 2019, we saw 25 brands with us, right? So we have spotted talents such as Peterman Bidat, who have won the GPHG, and it was his first fair with us. We continue to represent the best in watchmaking as with the work we do with Ophion. So we share a common passion and really an interest in independent watchmaking. That has been the goal of Dulux from day one. And so the journey would continue now, right, with special editions with watchmaker. We're going to start a few more initiatives in Singapore that's going to spearhead independent watchmaking. So stay tuned, something very special, something we will do for the industry that will help the industry grow much more, and something that the industry deserves, with independent watchmaking. I always felt that they're brands that have true passion and pure dedication to the work, right? And it's our mission as you will love to help them propel that mission forward and to reach as much people as possible. So that's the work we do since day one. It's never changed. We welcome you to visit us one day. We have obviously pivoted because of COVID-19. So what has happened in 2020 last year is that we have pivoted from a fair in the middle of Orchard Road, which is a key shopping destination. We have pivoted across the island, right? With multiple destinations, private events. We are putting our watches into selected stalls. We're hosting them privately. And that has helped us as a fair, as I would say, the only fair in the world that has pivoted successfully. We continue to retail the watches online with our e-commerce shop, luxworld.com as well. So that has helped continue propel the work that we do. We're not stopping because COVID-19 is here. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and that's just what we do.
Well, wonderful. Thank you for putting a spotlight, Nelson, on independent watchmaking, and thank you for helping us put today together. Now, as the Velos collection moves forward, I understand that there may be some additional variations that are offered in the future. Would you speak to that?
Yeah, so maybe we are working in bringing some maybe precious material to the cases, so we maybe could offer some new variation in gold or red gold. We will still working on the details, but we will see how it goes.
Great.
You guys to hear it in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, what a wonderful thing that we're able to speak with you across the world, but as a single community here today, and really would love to thank both of you. I know in Singapore right now it's going on 4 o'clock in the morning.
4 a.m. Yeah.
Oh, Nelson, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time with us today and introducing us to Jewel Lux and helping to put this together with Miguel. Miguel, thank you for joining us from Spain. We love not only the inspiration, but the work that you've put into creating just wonderful timepieces that are affordable, but that don't neglect the quality and the craftsmanship that as those of us who love watches and independent watchmakers just truly enjoy. So it's such a pleasure to have met both of you. And would you join me when my watch arrives? Would you walk us through that timepiece so that we can not only promote your brand but show the craftsmanship that goes into this watch? Because Nelson, when you show that on your camera, something that you see live is so much different than what you can see through a rendered image like we're seeing today.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Sure. 100%.
All right, wonderful. So look forward to everything that comes from Ophion, and hopefully we'll be hearing more from you about these variations in the future. And if anybody wants to get their own, there's only 55 pieces of each of these limited editions available. So go to the Ophion website now.
Thank you so much for having us and for all your help and support. It was great to be in here. So.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a great sleep.
I'm good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.